this video, we're going to learn the letter W. W is very, very similar to a V in how it starts. So what you're going to do is at the top of the X space, you're going to make that same curve we've been doing that pulls down before pushing back up to the top of the header. Then pull it all the way down to the bottom of the X. Just like a V, from the bottom of the X, you're going to push back up to the top of the header. So now this is looking very much like a V, but we add an extra step. We are again going to pull down from the top of the header to the bottom of the X, and then push up one last time and curve out to the right to end in a dot. So it's like two V's kind of smushed together. You can think of it that way. I'm going to do it again. I'll grab more ink. Start at the top of the X. Make a curve that goes down, back up to the top of the header. Pull down to the bottom of the X. Push back up to the top of the header. Pull back down to the bottom of the X again. And then push back up to the top of the header. Curve out to the right and end in a dot. I'm going to do that again. Start at the top of the X space. Curve down and around, back up to the top of the header. Pull all the way down to the bottom of the X. Push back up to the top of the header. Pull back down to the bottom of the X. Push up to the top of the header, curve off to the right, and end in a dot. I'll do that one last time here for you. Start with a curve at the top of the X space. At the top of the curve, pull down to the bottom of the X. Push up to the top of the header. Pull down to the bottom of the X. Push up to the top of the header before curving out and end in a dot. Do capital W's all the way across your page, and then you can move on to a lowercase w. Lowercase w starts very similar to a U, ends in the same way a V does. So what that looks like is we start by pushing up an entrance stroke in the X space. Then move to the top of the X, pull a line down that overlaps that stroke, curve up. Go back to the top of the X, pull down and overlap that line, curve up, and then at that last curve, you're going to pull down a little tail that ends halfway down the X space. So I'm going to do that again. Push up an entrance stroke, pull down and around to the right, pull down and around to the right before pushing all the way back up, and then pull out a tail that goes halfway down. I'll do that again. From the bottom of the X, push up an entrance stroke, move to the top of the X, pull down and curve out to the right, back to the top of the X, pull down, curve out to the right, push to the top of the X, pull a little tail that only goes halfway down and out. I'll do that one last time for you. Push up an entrance stroke, and then from the top of the X, pull down and around to the right, back to the top of the X, pull down and around to the right before pushing all the way up to the top, and then pull down and out a little tail. Do capital W's all the way across that line, and you can move on to the next video.